Welcome to another episode of Final.Final with Geoff Tice, a podcast about creativity, art, design, and comedy. A podcast that will be over, completely shut down. We're killing it as soon as we have Rick Rubin on as a guest. But thank the Lord that day is not today because we have an even better guest. You've seen him. He has a Hulu special out called Wallpaper. He's a creator and star of Those Who Can't, a TV show on True TV. He has an amazing book called Tragedy Plus Time. He just got done filming a film, not a movie. It's a film. It's a blockbuster. It's a instant classic called See You When I See You, which we'll talk about. You've seen him on Comedy Central, Conan, The Late Late Show. You've also seen him as a blur, just an out-of-focus speed demon on every soccer pitch he's ever set foot on. Welcome to the show, Adam Cayton-Holland. Thanks for doing this, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, you could have cut all the bullshit, just went right to the soccer intro, and people would have been like, "Oh yeah, I know that dude.
Oh,
I know
nice,
that
man.
dude.
Yeah.
No cartilage in the left knee. I know him.
Yeah, the crunching sound. That's not the grass.
I've heard him walk upstairs from a separate building.
That is fun. I'm golfing way more now because of exactly that. I played basketball once like a month ago, stood up, you could hear it across the yard, and I was like, okay, we're going to have to do something different.
I know. I've been going to a doctor because I was worried about my knee, and basically he's like, "Yeah, it's done. You're old. I could give you a new one, or you could just keep going until it's excruciating." And I was like, "That sounds like the plan." So
I think we're going to run that into the ground. That's fine.
And
That's
I
so
won't,
great.
unlike you, I won't quit because I'm stupid. So I keep just playing soccer.
I've quit for now, but like it just takes like one friend to be like, come on, dude. I'm like, all right, I will.
Exactly.
So,
Yep.
that's it.
That's the boat I'm in, man.
That's perfect. Well, cool. Well, I've already blown it on a couple episodes prior to this, and I just get excited that I'm talking to people I know and love and my friends, and I forget to ask the start and the thesis of this whole podcast. But
you gotta be organized. I get it. You're trying to rein it in.
I'm trying to get it together. I've gone off the rails a couple times, but the big question of this podcast, talking to extremely successful and extremely creative people that I know. When you're working on something, anything creative, whether that's writing, drawing, painting, whatever you do, when do you know it's done? When do you think it's done? Do you ever think it's done? That's the question.
I think it's done right now. Good talking with you, Geoff.
All right.
I gotta go.
Honestly,
yeah,
that
it's done.
It would be a perfect way to finish the podcast.
It's fucking done. See you later, man.
We did.
Let's see you at a comedy show or maybe on the soccer field. Yeah, but I don't know because like there are nice of you to describe me as creative and successful. I think I dovetail between the two. But there's a lot of different genres like you, so it's kind of hard to get specific on it. But I knew this would be the question, and so I thought the only answer I could think of is for me, it's when I'm sick of it. Nice. When I'm physically sick of it and I cannot spend more time in this place, then it's ready to go. It's ready to be. And I think that's true for like a comedy bit. Like, okay, I'm done tinkering. I'm sick of it.
What does that feel like to you? Like, is it you just stop working on it because you're like, I can't go back there? Or are you mid journey and you're like, this is done because I am having a horrific time right now?
Okay, well, let's just limit it to comedy for that answer because we knew we would. We're two comedians who do so many other things, yet we'll go to this every time. But there's a sweet spot with a bit where you're like, you've written it and you know it's going to stay in the rotation, but it's not there yet. And then you like massage and massage and massage, and it gets better and better and better. And maybe you're adding some stuff or subtracting, but usually adding for me. And then you're like, it's fucking working. And now it's your favorite bit. You're in the pocket. You could add a few more things, but for the most part, it's kind of sounding like it's going to sound. And that's a good month or two of like, this is my favorite joke right now. Yep. I love telling it. It's crushing. It's new to me. And then there reaches a point where you're like, fucking that bit again. And like, that's when it's done. And so now it stays in the arsenal. I'm not going to tweak it anymore, but I don't love it anymore. And it is done. It's not mine. It belongs to the audience now, I guess.
How angry do you get internally when you've passed that threshold of this joke is done, it's doing great, whatever, you already have new jokes coming up. You're working on other stuff, but you know this one's going to crush.
Yeah.
When you start that joke, 1 to 10, like what's the rage level of you having to do that joke internally?
It depends. It depends on the bit. Like, for me, it's more like, is this an easy bit? And then it's a rage level of 10. Is this a complicated bit that I feel proud of because it's complicated? Then the rage level is much less. You know what I mean? Like, when it's hacky and when it's sort of unique. And so if it's a hacky joke that's crushing, I'm like, fucking 10. And if it's a unique joke that's crushing, it's much, much less.
Yeah. I had a moment. I have a bit right now that's a story that is a little long and drawn out, and it's not crushing. It does well enough. I don't love that it's doing well enough. I want it to do way better, but I have now incorporated so many tags and little tidbit callbacks into other bits that come after it on longer sets that as I start it, I'm like, God damn it, I gotta lay the foundation. I gotta just kind of bomb for a second here, and then it pays off later. But those 3 minutes of like doing this bit that I'm like, I don't really love yet.
Dude, those story bits are such an investment. And yeah, it really is like you'll abandon it sometimes when the audience is not up to task. You can tell. Like I'm putting out a new special. You're doing the artwork for it. Jeff's done all the artwork for most of my shit, and I'm so grateful to be in the pocket with you. It's nice. But the last bit on my album is like 16 minutes.
Oh, that's great.
So if you go into that, you're like, all right, I'm not gonna just
We're on the journey.
Yeah, here we go.
When you were building that bit, did you? I don't tell as long stories as that, but I always give myself little ripcords to when I'm doing a set where I'm like, oh, they hate this. And then I just kind of like find a tributary out. Do you give yourself out like exit ramps? On
no,
your bits,
I really don't. There's no exit ramps. The punchlines are exit ramps. And that's what you're talking about. You go back and you try to find little, just clear, pure laughs because it becomes just storytelling without laughter if you don't find those. So those are the exits, but it's not like I can depart from the entire bit. I've set up like, this is the hardest I've ever bombed. Here's the story. And you have to sort of conclude it,
Has that bit objectively bombed, or was it just like pretty baked? Because I've seen you come out with new stuff and it crushes right out of the gate. And I know that's super rare, but I know how you write pretty well. So was there like, I'm telling a story about bombing while bombing, or was you,
it never like flat out bombed, but it definitely felt laborious for a while.
Yeah.
But it was so funny when I was experiencing it that I was like, take notes. It was almost like watching myself bomb and knowing I would write a bit about this.
Yeah.
And that was the only life vest I had, was like, hey, at least you're going to get a bit out of this.
That's so funny. Yeah. Like, whatever, man.
Whatever. Fuck you guys. This will be great in a year.
That's great. Yeah. You're paying my bills later. Thank you. You're fine. That's
totally.
That's great. Cool. And then so this is what I really want to talk to you about. You just got done filming a film. We'll call it a film.
Sure.
And which it's your first one. It's an adaptation of Tragedy Plus Time. Overall, like the experience of filming, I love the process of filmmaking.
Yeah.
What stood out to you? Like, what was the first day on set like? What was that experience? Just what's your like takeaway from all of that at like a super high level? We can get nitty gritty.
Yeah.
Camera lenses in a second, but
no, dude, it's the macro is like, oh my God, this is amazing. I was a film student, and I, grew up going to indie movies with my mom, and I think there's been a lack of sort of just like heartfelt, small stories with big emotion, big themes, that it feels like when I was a kid, every week I'd go to a different like cool indie movie. And I think just the landscape of filmmaking is kind of like, you better be a big fucker or, small, tiny, like we made this with my friends for 500,000. Yeah. This budget was 6 million, which isn't huge, but is decent. Awesome. And it's like, and small. So, but these types of movies, I loved. And so to like, and I was talking with some people involved, and they're like, I think this is kind of coming back, these types of movies. To make one and be around people who trade in that genre of like small indie dramedy type things was thrilling, because like this is what I've always loved watching, and so to like be around making one, and in fact have written it, it was just insane.
That's incredible.
It was very cool. Like pinch me all the time. It was crazy.
That's so cool that that's the movie. It's also cool that Captain America did have to be in this as well, just contractually. They did put him in there. It is still,
right, 100%.
Still in there. The process of writing it from the book to the movie, what was, first of all, why did you do that? And then was it, I guess my question is, what was harder to write technically, not obviously emotionally? Both of them were harrowing, but like the book or the movie, what came easier? Just the technical side of things, screenplay writing versus like writing a novel.
Well, I mean, as a lot of listeners might know, but some might not, this book and this movie are about like losing my little sister to suicide. So it's like very personal, very sad, biggest tragedy, biggest trauma of my life. So yeah, it's hard to do any of it. That said, I keep doing it. Like I wrote a book, I've written a movie, I do a one-man show. I think I'm done making new art about it. Yeah. But it is like I keep putting it in different areas. And I think that's because it means so much to me that I think about it a lot, and I'm still always going to think about it. But the book was like, there's no roadmap. Just sit down and write whatever comes out. Yeah. So that was like effortless and it was hard emotionally, right? But there was no map. And I could just write, and then later, whatever I belched out, the editor would help, or I could delete it, whatever. But it was just like, whatever you want, get it out. And the movie is a whole different thing, where it's like I had to learn the rules of screenwriting. I had to like write 3 bad versions to learn what a bad version even was. So it's like a 5-year process of like finding it.
That's crazy.
But when when I did find it, it was like symphonic. It was like, I've learned a new way to do a thing, and now I'm gonna do it great. You know,
that's awesome.
Yeah,
that's great. How different writing a movie versus an episode of TV, which you've obviously done with Those Who Can't, and that. What did that feel like?
So different, so fucking different. A half-hour pilot is a simple 3-act structure. You know, like set up a problem in Act 1. In Act 2, they try to deal with the problem. In Act 3, it's the resolution of them dealing with that problem. It's pretty simple. And a movie, like I did this movie, I started tinkering with this idea, and then I connected with some good friends, Kumail Nanjiani and Emily Gordon, who put their lives on screen in the movie The Big Sick. And so I wrote a first draft on my own. And when they got on board with the idea, they're like, well, let us see that. And then I gave it to them, and they're like, oh boy, you need to learn about how to write a screenplay. And I was like, oh, okay. And they're like, don't worry, we were the same boat. Like Judd Apatow told us that. And he's like, they're like, have you ever read this book, Save the Cat? And it's like the hackiest screenplay book about like, here's the roadmap. And I was like, no, I haven't. And Kumail's like, you're going to resent it. It feels stupid. There's parts of it you should disregard. But in terms of like the actual bullet points that you need to hit in a movie, it is like, it's huge. So I went through it. My reading of that book was exactly what Kumail described.
That's hilarious.
But then I was like, okay, yeah, I didn't do this. I didn't hit this. I didn't hit this. And you learn that movie making scripts are so clinical. You have to hit these beats. We as viewers are trained to desire them. And even if we don't know them like the back of our hand, when we see a movie that doesn't do them, we're like, something's off. We know the movie's not right.
It's like cooked into us.
It is. And you can break the rules, but you got to learn the rules first. Like it's, it's Picasso shit. You got to be able to paint the bowl of fruit before you can go nuts with it.
Yeah. A lot of, I can do that. It's like, well, no, you can't. You got to know. Yeah.
Exactly. And so then once you learn those little rules, which are literally like 12 beats, it's like, a very simple one is like in the first 10 to 12 minutes, create a world and then blow it up. Yep. And so you have to, it's like, and then that's the journey. And now the viewer's been invested and they're like, oh, I love this world. And now it's destroyed. What? Like, how do we get back to this world?
That's
So
so
yeah,
great.
just little shit like that I didn't know that stuff.
Yeah.
Despite having gone to film school and paid a lot of money, they did not fucking teach us any of that.
But you did watch Casablanca. That's cool. You got to watch.
I can talk about very obscure films with 11 people.
Yeah, that's fun. Just heavy in the Reddit forums. That's nice.
Lubitsch.
Have you guys seen Adaptation?
Mhm.
That's great. On set, what was the biggest? What was that experience like? You wrote it, and then who directed it? I'll let you go through. All
Jay
the people involved.
Duplass directed it. He's
So cool.
of the Duplass brothers, who are kind of indie filmmaking royalty these days. Love everything they've done. Love Jay's previous movies. So I was thrilled. He was the first director we went to, and he was like, "Yeah, I'm down."
Oh, what a cool testament to the story. And
it was, and I think, as everyone on the set revealed, most people have experienced some sort of really big loss. Yeah. And a lot of them have experienced really big loss because of mental illness and suicide and shit. So I think it spoke to Jay, who's had some tragedy in his life and lost some good friends and stuff like that. And I think he was like, I want to do a movie like this.
That's so cool. What was your relationship with him like prior to filming and then also on set? Like, how does that work with, you have the script and you're the voice of this thing. But
dude, it's very interesting. Voice. Very interesting and like new to me. But we met through this process, and then there was like 2 years till we had funding. So I'd go out to LA for shows. Jay and I'd have lunch. We'd stay in touch. We were trying to attach actors, and we just became pretty friendly. And he was cool as fuck, and we enjoyed each other and got along great. So Emily was like, "Do you know about writers on movie sets?" And she's like, "It's a fun experience," kind of like eye roll. And I was like, "Oh, really? Okay." So basically, I mean, I think the trope of a writer on a movie set is that you're annoying and you should be done. Like, you've written the script, hand it off, and get fucked. We now let us do our thing. So I think there's this perception of writers as like, hanging on the director, being like, "That's not how I wrote it," and this and that, and like just being annoying and getting in the way of the process. And so it took Emily telling me that, made me aware that it might be a thing. And then kind of watching the way people perceive me for a few days, I was like, okay. So I had to kind of learn what the trope was and then refute it. And like, my goal was to be viewed as an asset and not a detriment to the film.
Yeah.
But I think people were walking around being like, "Oh, fucking writer on set, like this sucks." But Jay knew I wasn't that.
Yeah.
And so, and it was my story. So there was a little bit more of like reason for me to be there.
Yeah.
But so then I'd say the first week was spent figuring out, where do I fit in here?
Yeah.
And like, how can I add value to this? Even with Jay, because even though we were friends, I didn't know his process. I don't want to henpeck. I don't want to do anything. So it just took a little while. But Jay, to his credit, was very like collaborative, and he would be like, before he'd even move on from a scene, he'd be like, "You good, Adam? Anything? Got any notes?" And on the first day, there was a need to like add jokes in this scene. And he's like, "Adam," and I was like, "On it." And I was like, nice. Couldn't have been happier to be more useful. And, like coming back with like, "Here are the jokes."
Yeah.
And then quickly we settled into a groove, and like I learned how to add value and what his pace was. And, like he yells cut, takes his headphones off, and 6 people are like, Jay, including the actors and the cameraman and all. So, wait till the 4th or 5th take and then chime in with your idea. And so so just learning all that was like, was a learning process, but we got into a good groove. And by the end of it, the whole cast and crew were very happy that I was adding value,
That's great. It's so interesting to like come from, I guess, the TV world too. Like when you were the star, the writer, the creator, it's like what you said, go. And then now it is your story, and you're trying to tell this in a way that is true to you. And you like, obviously it's an important part of you. And then someone else is like, we'll see how you fit into this. And you're like, well,
and you're not the captain of the ship, even though you sat alone and wrote it and like made this, you built the ship.
Yeah.
And you're not the captain of it. So it is a weird take. Had I not had the experience of shooting Those Who Can't, I think I would have been a little bit more mind fucked by it.
Yeah.
But I know when you get a director, you give him the keys,
Yeah.
But still, on the set of Those Who Can't, the three of us walked around with impunity. Like, it was our
Right.
set. We
Yeah.
controlled how it felt. The buck stopped with us.
Yeah.
And this was not the case. The
Interesting.
financier's there every day. And he was cool. We got along great, but and the director's here, and the cameraman, who was awesome, but is actually doing it. And then you
Yeah.
really start having respect for the camera operators and all of them. And so it was cool. But I mean, there was a cool thing. Like, day one, Jay and the cameraman are really good friends, the DP, and they had worked together on stuff for years, and they were excited to be back together on this project. And Jay told me he was going to do this, but he's like, every morning at crew call, we're circling up, and it's like share time. It's like a Quaker meeting. And so on the first one, he's like, this is Adam.
Yeah.
This is Adam's life story. You all know the script. We're telling this. Adam, say a few words. And so I said a few words. Then the next day, the cameraman, and it just became this, inevitably, given the subject matter of the movie, it became this very on the sixth day, here comes a dude who's a grip, and he's like, my cousin killed himself when he was 17, and I've never talked to anyone about it until
Whoa.
today. And and everyone's like, okay. It just became this very heavy, we're making this sort of mental illness comedy, and let's respect the subject matter. And so it just galvanized the whole crew on that, and it was beautiful. It was very cool.
That's incredible.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
it was lovely.
what a beautiful moment, and what a beautiful thing for those weeks, because all you hear about movie sets is it was horrific. It was the most, everyone was yelling at each other, and I'm fully traumatized after the experience. That's so great that it was the respect was there, but then people were open enough to share that at a workplace, essentially, at their
Dude,
job.
it was wild. Everybody kept coming up to me every couple of days being like, this is really good, right? It was, and I'm obviously drinking my own Kool-Aid, but it just felt like there was this sort of magic over the set. And you're looking at these crews in Atlanta who are wearing Walking Dead hoodies, Stranger Things hoodies, Spider-Man 2 hoodies, Twisters hoodies. Their crew, they do shit. They make movies. This is a job for them. But I can't tell you how many times people would come up and be like, oh, wait, this is really good. And I don't think any of them were working on small indies like this. And so it just felt like we're working on something special. And it starts with Jay. He was just calm. He never yelled. It was just kind of the way he directed was very chill yet firm hand on the wheel. It was cool to watch that for 5 weeks.
So 5 weeks, is that the most stressed you've ever been in 5 weeks doing a project for creative work?
It was less stressful. It was hard emotionally, big time. But Those Who Can was more stressful because I'm acting. We're writing. We're you're chiming in on the director all the time. I had less work than anybody, so I was watching every scene, and I was certainly forthcoming with notes and helped in a lot of situations and made stuff better here and there. But an essential worker, you know what I mean?
Hilarious.
Yeah.
That's great. Awesome. And then when do you have a release date? Is it?
No, they're gonna do festivals in the fall and
Sweet.
try to sell it to a streamer and probably some limited release. And I'll let the Duplass brothers handle that one.
Great. Yeah. You can have notes. Give them notes on how you want it to be released.
I already am. I'm like, let's get an early draft out to Cannes, shoot for May. And they're like, easy, fucker.
You're like, chill. Oh, that's so great. That makes me so happy, dude. I mean, you deserve it more than anyone. That's so cool. It's really exciting.
It was a very cool experience.
I mean, what a experience of a lifetime, especially someone who went to film school. How many people do you think you went to film school with have made a movie, have written and made their own movie,
Dude, it was also wild. I don't know if I want to ever direct because it's so hard and you work so fucking hard. But watching him direct and learning about directing actors and it was just very, you can't buy that. Like the experience I got was amazing. If I ever choose to direct, I have some very good thoughts on it just by
Yeah.
watching.
Do you have an itch? Is there a little, little
I don't
something
know. It
there?
really is a lot. But one of the women who was the second camera head operator, she was great. We got along really well, and she just won this huge cinematography award. And she's like, the award is money to film something this year. She's like, I'll be in Denver in February. She did spend a lot of time skiing out here. Loves Colorado. So she's like, so if you want to film like a short, let's talk. And I'm kind of
Nice.
like, oh fuck, I've got like a real good camera person who's down to do it. So I'm kind of trying to like brainstorm like a 10-minute thing
Yeah.
to shoot with her because I think that'd be a lot of fun to just
Really
try.
cool. Really
Yeah.
cool.
We'll
Yeah.
see
And
if I
then
do it or not, but I don't know.
another, like, yeah, dip your toe into all the different roles that you now know exist and how they operate.
You can start small, like, because I'm not, try to like see if I can handle that level of it. But
Yeah.
yeah, we'll see.
Oh, that's so cool, dude. Okay, last thing I want to talk to you about. It's personal favorite of my wife and I. Your holiday card comes in every year,
Yeah,
and it's been a running joke in our house for years now because it's been coming for a few years of what the Hotchkisses are up to
sure. Yeah.
and how that came about and why. And so just, yeah, let the people know what that is and why. It's the best.
Thanks. I'm so glad you guys enjoy it. Yeah, I don't know, man. So like, I don't know. When my wife and I got married, we are like, should we put out a holiday card? And then we both kind of were just like mocking holiday cards and like the
Yeah.
cheesy update letter. And we just both found them similarly hilarious and cheesy. So we're like, let's just do a fake one. So we just created awful characters and we named them Dwayne and Melinda Hotchkiss. And their lives mirror our lives. And so now they have 2 kids and like we take ridiculous photos and just Dwayne, I guess, is me, and I write like what we've been up to that year, and it's always like horrible, and they're just bad, stupid people, and I don't know. It's just like my way to fuck around in a newsletter every year. People seem to like it.
It's great.
Now there's a lore. They've done all this stuff, and I always read last year's before I write this year's, and I'm like, oh yeah, that shit happened. That shit happened.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's an ongoing saga of like a deeply unwell couple who are just trying to present themselves as if like everything's fucking great, but
It's great.
they're falling apart. They're a mess.
It's so good. The my favorite part of it is obviously, like, it's so fun and creative and it's hilarious. But another little nugget of, like, layer of comedy that keeps happening every year is we get holiday cards from other people that are serious but in the same vein as that.
Yeah, totally. So do we. So do we. I don't know how it happened, but like we got carpet installed maybe right when we bought the house, and somehow we're on the Christmas letter for the guy who owns the carpet shop, and
Perfect.
it's just like him and his impossibly blonde wife and daughters. And we don't know these people at all, and it's just the most vapid horse shit. And I'm like, oh, we got the carpet guys one, and it's just like it makes me laugh so hard.
That's
I
so
use
great.
that as inspiration.
That's
I won't.
Perfect.
It's great. It's
I,
fucking great.
I
It's
love that
so
so
awful.
much. We always laugh. We also get a another fun male comedy is I did a corporate gig years ago for a real estate company, and then now I'm on their mailing list. But we get, like, truly 3 or 4 pieces of stationery, like very well made, expensive stationery for references for this real estate person, like probably 4 or 5 times a month. The amount of money they're spending
Dude,
on stationery of just like, yeah, it's like, guys, I did 20 minutes at a bar one time for your company, and now
I love it, man. Give me all the free shit. I'll take it. I don't, even if it just goes right to the recycling bin. I'll enjoy. I enjoy a gift on the porch. Fuck it.
it's perfect. Awesome, dude. Well, that's it. Thanks so much for doing this, quick and
Yeah,
easy.
man.
I
Of course.
loved hearing about the movie. I'll have a billion other nitty gritty technical questions when I see you in person, but
I'm eager to talk about it. I always love talking shop with you. It's fun, man.
it's my favorite. You're the best. Shout out to give a shout out to where anyone can find you and what you got going on. And
I got all sorts of shit, just like you. I'm always doing stuff. AdamCayton.Holland.com, at Cayton-Holland on the social medias. I'm not shy about promoting what I got going on.
That's great.
Yeah.
Awesome. And then, new special coming out soon, eventually?
Yeah, end of March.
Cool.
I got a new special coming out, 20 years in comedy, and all I got was this lousy special.
Perfect.
Geoff is working on the artwork. It's looking great.
It's very fun.
I'm excited about it.
I'm excited for the look of that. I've only seen stills. I haven't seen actually footage yet. And so
it's very cool.
Look amazing.
We also did like B-roll where I'm at the line. I filmed it at the Lions there where I started comedy at Dive Bar in Denver. But we did B-roll where it's like me walking around the Lions there, kind of like fake interview shit, and we keep cutting to that, and that looks really good. It looks a little different. Like remember like Galifianakis's like live at the Purple Onion?
Oh yeah.
I always loved that so much with his cutaways to just him being insane.
Yeah.
And so it's not like that level of insane, but there's some funny asides that are peppered throughout that I think look good.
Ooh, I love that. I'm excited. Talk about one of the all-time great specials.
Dude, it's the best. It's so good. It's so good.
Yeah, I did just a fun Purple Onion story. I did Sketchfest back like 2016, and it was that the Purple Onion had then become Doc's Lab.
Okay.
And I went in there and I was like, oh, I'm like doing like the old Purple Onion, walk in, and it's just they had like completely glossed over everything, and I was and I was like, oh, this doesn't feel the way I wanted it to feel. It
feels so old jazzy. It's like perfect in that special.
Yeah, it's cool. So awesome, dude. Thanks so much. Appreciate you. I'll see you soon. And thanks again, man.
Yeah, man. Anytime. Thanks for having me.